Hi, and welcome back to Food Firms and Chefs. And I am very happy to introduce you to Patti Fitzpatrick, who is the current owner of the Talking Teacup, which is in Chalfont, PA.
Yep.
Patti, welcome to Food Firms and Chefs.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, as I got a little history while researching, this is not what you initially jumped into career wise. So, tell our listeners about your history and how you came about owning the the talking teacup.
Sure. So I started going to Talking Teacup many years ago, about 20 years ago, going through a divorce and met the owner. I was going there a lot. It's like a little escape. You know, when you go to a tea house, you leave everything behind. You're going in there, you're going to relax, you're going to have really good, different food. Just sip on your tea and think about the world, right? So I'm going through a divorce. The owner starts sitting down, talking to me, finding out we have a lot in common. Became friends. And throughout the years, I worked waitress there. I did her marketing. I was a graphic designer and advertising. So I helped her out with her marketing. And then she needed help here and there. I ended up being her manager, her kitchen manager. And then unfortunately, she had to close due to terminal cancer. At that time, I didn't have the means to buy the place. Step forward 2 or 3 years, we had the pandemic. All the world shut down, and I wanted to open back up a place that gave me a place where I can reconnect with people and just be me. So I reached out to her husband who owned the property and I bought it. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's just a place where I want everybody to leave the outside world and come in, enjoy great new homemade food, and just relax.
And I feel like from what I garnered from your history that yes, you did become involved prior to in the previous owner, may she rest in peace. And I know that you had a very strong friendship with her, Kathy. Um, Prior to you owning it, that history and that just your story of what you two went through and the fact that you kind of bonded together over tea of all things. And people sit down and they're like, well, what's the tea? And they mean like, spill the tea. What are you talking about? It's kind of like you developed a friendship and a relationship and a rapport with her, and I'm assuming with her husband as well.
Exactly. It's something I will cherish forever. She's truly missed, but I never saw it coming, to be honest. But it's a gift that I have.
Yeah. And I don't want to get you teary-eyed because
No,
that's certainly not
no.
my intention. But I just kind of want our listeners to know like the history that is involved with
Yes.
owning this talking teacup. It has more levity when there's a history involved. And I mean, the building in and of itself is very old too, because it's what built in the 1700s.
Little over 250 years. So yes.
But
Yeah, 1761, I believe.
and
Um,
that's some strong bones for a building.
it sure is. It sure is.
And I can imagine like what's that the wall if these walls could talk kind of moments, because obviously back in the day I feel like tea was far more popular than coffee was. So it's probably the house is probably like, oh, we're circling back. If houses could talk, we're so circling back to our history. But speaking of tea and speaking of like just sitting down and just enjoying a cup of tea, high tea and there's, and whatnot, why don't you let our listeners know like what is involved with this building and with your business?
Sure. So basically, a tea house, it's not your normal type. When some people think of a tea house, they're thinking they're just going to walk in like they would walk into Starbucks or another coffee shop. When you come into a tea house, you're actually coming in to have courses. So you're slowing your pace down and you're just enjoying not only the tea, but the food. So when they come in, they're seeing my take, which is different from the original tea house. I designed it for my look and feel. So you're coming into eclectic, vintage, come to grandmom's house type feel. When you sit down, you have choices. The big thing is our Tessie high tea. So that gives you everything. I make everything fresh and homemade. Did I go to school for it? I did not. I am self-taught. I like to play. I like to play with different flavors. So they're going to pick teas, which we pick the highest quality teas, loose leaf out there. We change our teas and our food with the seasons and the holidays. So it gives us a chance to kind of evolve as we grow with the flavors of the seasons. Trust me, this year the butternut squash soup was better than last year. So with that, for the Tessie high tea, which is the big one, it's 5 courses. So they're gonna get scones. It's actually 4 courses. It's scones and tea first. Then they're gonna get my soup and salad combo that come out in those old little soup and salad plates. They're adorable. Found them in a vintage shop. So they're going to get my homemade soup. They're going to get a salad that I put together with my own dressing. And then the next course is their tea sandwiches. And then the other course, the last one is our desserts. So everything is kind of made to go with that whole, like each one will have a flavor that was in that other course.
Yeah.
So it kind of keeps them going.
And I mean, I know I've been to tea houses before. My mother is a huge tea drinker. So I kind of grew up being incorporated into the world of tea drinking. I didn't find out until I was 12 that I love coffee. So I've, kind of switched over to coffee, but I still highly enjoy tea, especially when it's a good brew, like a strong brew. I do love a good London fog. I'm sure that have, and for our listeners, that's like a black tea with lavender, and I take it with cream and sugar. So
Yes. So,
um
there is tea that you can put coffee in, and it's a half, you can do half and half. So we actually have a few things on our menu there's one that is a black tea with coffee beans. And then the other one is a black tea with coffee beans and espresso. So we have an area, since we're all tea, you cannot get any soda or juice or anything. It's all tea. The coffee drinkers that come in, they can get coffee, but it has to have tea in it.
Gotcha.
So we do that mix. So it's kind of different.
So do you ever do like a dirty chai, like the espresso shot inside of chai tea?
Yes.
I have a friend who loves that.
Oh, it's awesome. We call it the teacup espresso.
Can I chime in for 1 second? I have
Mm.
well, first of all, I love your establishment. You're not very far from where I live. And,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
I'm a Del Val grad. So, I know the Chalfont area, that area really well. And, so all those wonderful things. But your client base, and I love the fact that you bring back with your own little touch, the art of a tea. And I think it's very important. I think that every girl in her lifetime needs to go and have a tea party, a real tea party, not one with plastic utensils in their house, but to experience that. And it's such a wonderful thing. Do you also incorporate into your food some teas and such? One of the great experiences I had many years ago as a chef was when we had the coffee tea show in Philadelphia at the convention center, and I took part. It was involved in creating a menu for a company that specialized in teas, and we did multiple courses, and each one incorporated tea. So I had, a wonderful orange sorbet that we made with tea, and just great things. And the best benefit is I got to keep tea for a long period of time. That, as long as I sealed it and kept it out of the sunlight and all that stuff. But do you cook with the tea as well?
I do. I do. I have one scone. We call it the Earl Grey de la Creme scone. I put tea in that. And then I also use tea. I make tea syrups with the tea. So I can use those syrups in any of my dressings, to cakes, stuff like that. Or I'll brew tea and put it in my soup.
Mm.
And just for Amaris, tea, by the way, if you take water out of the mix,
Yes,
tea is the number one drank beverage in the world. So
absolutely.
we're going to give that, high praise to the Asian culture for, consumption of it. But still, it's the number one, in many parts of the world other than
Yes.
Asia. It's still such a popular thing, and something that people should enjoy. I mean, there's, so many great flavors, and and wonderful characteristics of it, and to be able to do what you do. Do you also plan where, like, if a young girl wanted to have her 12th birthday party and have a tea party, do you do that type of small group catering and such?
We do not actually cater to the children. We're more of an adult tea house.
Okay.
That being said, there are other tea houses in the area that probably do cater to that, but it's just hard since we are more antique, vintage, slow
Sure.
pace.
Sure.
Most children under 12 don't want to sit for 90 minutes.
I
Um,
I understand.
so yes, so I cater to the inner child for us adults.
That
So
wouldn't be you and me, Ambrose. We're not that.
um, so unfortunately, that's the only down for us is that it's more 10 and older, 12 and older. So we don't really focus on birthday parties. It's more coming, reserving your table, and having your own little time with your guests that are at your table.
I don't necessarily think that that's a bad thing, because there's definitely a lot of my friends who are, with children who are younger, that would probably give an arm and a leg to spend time
Yeah.
without their kids and just to like have some downtime and
It
drink
was a
some.
hard decision to make, trust me, but working hard every day and knowing for me, my own nephew would not have wanted at 9 years old to sit at a tea house. He would prefer to be at Chuck E. Cheese. Right.
Yeah.
So I wanted to
That-
give an area where all of us busy people could just go and, just like I keep repeating, escape but enjoy the flavors.
Yes. Now, I know that in addition to the fact that you offer, food and whatnot, that's incorporated into your high teas and your brunches. You have on your website, you actually have different like an events calendar, and I think you have a Speak Tea Easy or something to that
Working
matter in the
on
work.
that one. Working on that one. It's still kind of in the works, but we do change our decor with the seasons and the holidays, where that allows me to do special events. So Halloween, for instance, we changed that place around. You walk in and it does not look like the same tea house you went into a month before. It's a witch's lair. We make the menu and we pick the teas that go with the season, and we have fun. So we have our witch's brew, which is 2 nights where women all or men come dressed as witches. We have tarot reading. We do witch trivia. The whole table looks like you're in your potions class. You bring your own booze. You make your own cocktails with tea syrups, tea, and then we go outside and we do the witches dance. It's a great fun and night. It's sold out every year. We do our wicked tea party, expect the unexpected. We play spooky music. We try to scare you. We wear costumes. And then there might be a mouse on your table. It's a friendly one. He'll come back to the kitchen with us later. Body parts, the chef will get sewn back together later, that type of thing. We try to have fun and just make everybody feel like they're part of whatever our Wicked Tea Party is. We're coming up with a lot of new events. Our Christmas in Tealand is very popular. So when we say redecorate, it's not just a mantle or one little thing. We're transformed.
Yeah.
So we do a Mad Hatter Tea Party in June. I transform it. My staff is characters and we kind of act it out. So it's different. And I try to do food and tea based on each of those themes.
Now, I know that you had stated like, it's not catering to a younger crowd, but can people like myself, like when my mother visits, kind of set aside or reserve the entire, room for a private event?
Yes, we do private events. We have it's a small place. I have one main dining room that fits 25 comfortable, 30 a little tight. I have a little side porch that we can do small 2-topper tables. So when we do private events, they get the whole place. So they're getting my front room, which we call it the lounge, the main dining, and that small porch area by themselves for 3 hours. And we kind of make sure that we work together to have that special event. And it's 3 hours. So you're private, all to yourself, and it could be either our regular decorations, or if it's during the holidays, you're getting the holiday decorations. And it's fun, and we call them mingle teas. so you're not stuck sitting at a table. Because if you have 15 women or 25 women that you want to talk to, a course takes 90 minutes, 4 courses, you're not able to move. So we call it a mingle tea. So the porch is set up as a buffet and the rest of the place is all for you. So you can kind of just wander around and talk to each other.
It's nice. That seems like a very like relaxing setting too.
It is.
Yeah. Now I know you also have a shop attached to your tea house.
We used to have a bigger shop, but as the world's been changing and things have been changing, I've slowly gotten rid of the gift shop. I have a very tiny space by my register. That is our gift shop. But they can get their teas by just letting the waitress know, and they'll pour them and get their bags ready for them. But it seems like a lot of people prefer to go online. It can be a little cheaper than us stores. We have to put a little bit of we have to up our numbers just to make it back. But I wasn't seeing the gift shop as a revenue base. My food area was my revenue base. So I was able to gain more seating.
Now, I know you also have taught in the past classes with what you've accrued, what you've learned on your own. You've taught classes on how to cook or how to create something. Do you still do that?
I do not. Kathy and I started that. So her and I, as she was the owner of the business back before she closed, would talk about how she needed to enhance more or play more or change things. So she's like, let's just have a cooking class. So we were like Julia Childs together in the kitchen talking while other people were watching and tasting the food. We ended that when she got sick, and just wasn't something that I brought back. Because I added more, my kitchen's smaller. I needed more things to make the food that I wanted to make. And it was her encouraging via an email before she passed for me to go for it. Life's too short, go for it. And she knew that I wanted to play with food and just create. So unfortunately, I don't know if I can get people back in that kitchen because I added extra things to make my life easy in there.
I mean, that makes sense, but we are going to run out of time soon. So
Sure.
let our listeners know like what's brewing, because obviously you had mentioned the holidays, you redecorate. What's brewing over there for you for Thanksgiving?
Sure. So we have our Friendsgiving weekend, which basically they're going to come and have a tea, but a little bit of Thanksgiving feel to it. I'm redecorating today and tomorrow for that. And then come December 5th, we'll be all ready for Christmas. And then we'll be closed for the whole month of January for a winter break. I got to kind of refresh myself. And then we jump into Valentine's, St. Patty's, Easter, and then just regular everyday stuff. So we just love changing up what everybody's going to get. So you never come back to the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
It's something different.
And that's wonderful. So let our listeners know where to find you online and in person.
Sure. So they can find us at thetalkingteacup.com, and they can find the physical address is 301 West Butler Avenue in Chalfont, Pennsylvania. We're between Doylestown and Montgomeryville.
All right. Patti, thank you so much for joining us on Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Have a great day. Thank you.
All right. And we will be right back after this short break. Hi, and welcome back to Food Farms and Chefs. And I am very happy to introduce all of you to Jake Rallo, who is the manager and I believe owner of Birravino in Red Bank, New Jersey. Jake, welcome to Food Farms and Chefs.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here with you all.
So Jake, it is a great pleasure. There's so many unique things that we could talk about with your business, with you, with everything going on. And so I'm going to give our listeners just a little bit of background of, some of the wonderful things. When you talk about food, you're talking about food from truly an expert level. You grew up in the restaurant industry, but, you went on to certainly what is the best management, and I won't give it culinary school, but best hospitality management school in the country at Cornell University. But that wasn't enough. You even went on to become a teaching assistant while you were there, really giving, a lot of accolades to your skill there to become a teaching that. But then, you come back and you work in the industry and you start this wonderful restaurant with so many very cool things going on. But, that's not enough. And you get really deeply involved in a great charity that we're going to talk about in a little bit, called United Vines. So, in a minute or two, share our listeners a little bit about when your passion became and what your, early experience was in the kitchen and how it got you to where you are now.
Sure, of course. And I just want to clarify, I don't own the restaurant. It's a family business. So my father, Victor Rallo, he is the majority owner of Birravino and a few other restaurants located in Monmouth County, as well as one in Staten Island, New York, and a few opening shortly. He's the mastermind behind it all. But like you said, I grew up in this industry, and I think a lot of people say that, oh, I grew up in restaurants. I grew up around food and beverage. I like to say it's in my blood. This building I'm sitting in has been in my family for 32 some odd years. My grandfather started this restaurant with my father. He passed when I was 2, but for most of my upbringing, if I ever wanted to see my father, it was within these 4 walls, eating homemade pasta, dunking it into tomato sauce, and then dunking it into Parmesan cheese, and then eating it. And that's kind of how I remember my childhood. And I think that cultivated my passion and my desire to learn how to cook and learn how to serve people and learn how to be hospitable. When I was in high school and even middle school, on the weekends, I never went out with friends. I wanted to be in the restaurants. I wanted to be cooking. I would be in garde manger and helping plate up appetizers and desserts with one of our amazing employees. Her name is Berta. She still works here today. I think she's one of our first employees, and she knew my grandfather. So that was my high school experience. And I knew I always had this innate passion to provide for others. How that kind of transpired, it took its course. I went to Cornell, and clearly now I'm here, but I didn't know it was going to end up being in the hospitality industry. I had a great passion for theater as well, and I loved performing and making people happy in that element. But when I was looking through colleges with my parents, I have a twin brother. He's has a super academic oriented mind and super sciencey, so he knew what he wanted. And I was like, well, I can go theater or I can go culinary and business and kind of follow in dad's footsteps. That's been my dream. So I applied to Cornell kind of on a limb, didn't think I was going to get in. I got in. It was 4 of the most amazing years of my life, 4 of the most hardest years of my life, 4 of the worst years of my life. It was a little bit of everything. And I think everyone's always like, oh, college was great, but no one has perfect experience every single day when they're there. Overall, it was incredible. And I just continued to fall in love with hospitality. I met so many people like me. I met people that challenged me and pushed me. I met people that respected me. And I was able to grow as a professional when I was at Cornell, kind of diving into food and wine, diving into the business side behind why I think it's like 60% of restaurants fail within the first year, and all these crazy statistics, and how you can become an outlier and how not to fail. And I saw my dad do it. And when I graduated, I kind of got trapped. I graduated from Cornell University with a 4.0 GPA, and I had a business degree, and I was like, okay, I should put this to use. So I got a job at Accenture, which is one of the biggest technology consulting firms in the world. I moved to Boston, started a whole new life there, kind of a new chapter, if you will. And I did not fall in love with that chapter. I think it took me about 4 months to recognize I wasn't following my passion. And I called my dad and I said, I'm coming home. I'm working for you. And one day I will be taking over. And that's kind of where we are now. I've done a lot of fun, exciting things in between that entire time period. But that's me. That's me in a nutshell. And now we're here.
So one of the wonderful things about your restaurant, obviously, your menu is really pretty simple. But it's authentic, it's real, it's fresh. Your pasta, as they say, fatto a mano, is made daily. It's you have great Italian machines that are making your pasta daily, and you have what you call the pasta lab.
Yes.
Can you explain to our listeners what you're referring to when you speak about the Pasta Lab?
Sure. So Birravino back in its day was called Basil Tea's Brewery. So it was a brew pub. We actually made our own beers here on property. During COVID, someone ran into the main fermentation tank. So we had to unfortunately rip out that brewery room, microbrewery room, which I know a lot of people were upset about. So we were left with this space. It has two walls that are all glass exposed to the inside of the restaurant, the outside of the restaurant, and then two other walls. And we were kind of wondering what we should do with it. We could make it a wine storage room. We could make it a little retail shop. We could set it as a private dining room. And when I came back to work for my family, I was like, well, what if we show off what we do best? We use the best ingredients. We make everything by hand, fresh daily. We've been making pasta since my grandfather was alive and started this business, but not many people know that or appreciate how much goes into making something that is seemingly very simple like rigatoni. What if we shed light onto that? And that's kind of where it started. We already had all this equipment. We bought some new equipment. I worked with the team in there for about 3 weeks every single day. Now I'm in there about 3 times a week, not every day, checking in, making new dishes, so on and so forth. And we opened this pasta lab. People keep asking us, when are you going to start selling your pasta? And I tell them as soon as we get less busy, which is never going to happen. But there's people in there 8 hours every single day, 2 girls, and they just make pasta. That is all they do. They've perfected that craft. And it is crazy to think that we go through that much pasta in a week. I think it's about, I don't know, it's hundreds of pounds of flour every single week. So that's the Pasta Lab. It's a super fun adventure. If you're ever at Birravino, you'll see the pasta being made, lasagna, ravioli, malfadine, rigatoni, you name it, we're making it.
One of the other wonderful things about your business is you really do a focus on education, both with your food and then also with wine. You do a lot of complimentary wine tastings. You have a series of events, and looking through it, the one that caught my eye right off the bat as a professional in the hospitality industry, we have very similar backgrounds. I'm not the Cornell grad, but I have a background in wine as well as being a chef and
Sure.
and I teach spirits, and now I'm in the microbrewery business. But I was so drawn to your November 21st event. Your turkey wine tasting, because I always get that question. Oh, Thanksgiving, what kind of wines do I serve with turkey?
Sure.
And here you are, doing that. I was just so drawn to that you do these complimentary tastings and you do these special events and that you're not afraid to go out there and talk to people and educate people because so many times restaurants, and I'm going to say restaurants that fail, have this feeling that if people know too much, it's bad. And
Mhm.
you embrace the more they know, the better.
Sure. Definitely. And I think wine is an intimidating thing, specifically wine that doesn't say right on the label, this is made with Chardonnay, right? You have to know the region and where it's coming from, and then perhaps you can guess that grape variety. And it's no secret that Italian wine and also French wine, but we only sell Italian wine, is confusing. And the only way we can do what we do every single day and be successful is if we educate our customers and teach them what they like and show them that they may like Chardonnay from California, but they will also like something similar or completely different from Italy. I think it's every single region in Italy. There's 21 of them, if I'm not mistaken. They grow wine. There's over 3,000 registered varieties and more.
It is an amazing wine region, and people give so much accolades to France, and they certainly deserve that. And Napa Valley as well, in California as well. But Italian wines, and I'm very blessed. In Pennsylvania, we have the weirdest liquor laws in the entire country, and as a microbrewery, I have to sell only American or only Pennsylvania made products.
Sure.
That is my liquor license as a brewery. So, finding wines was a challenge. And I happened to stumble upon a small company that was just starting in Pennsylvania to file for a limited distribution. And what they do is they bottle in Pennsylvania, but the wine is made and aged in Italy and shipped here to PA where it's bottled. So it becomes a Pennsylvania. My guests go crazy because here I am. When people come into a microbrewery, nobody expects to be able to get great wine. And I have a line of 5 different Italian wines that I carry. A Sangiovese. I have, just the basics. I have Pinot Grigio. But I have some other great wines in there. And what a fabulous thing. And the wines of Italy are really something to be embraced. And the thing that goes best is they pair so well with the foods of the same region.
Exactly. And I just like to make wine approachable and fun. We always try to have a distributor or a producer or someone closely related to the winery here with us when we do these tastings, because we're super passionate about it. But for them, it's like their child, these wines. So they're even more passionate about it. And it's really cool to have that interaction between winemaker and customer, or between distributor and customer, to kind of shed light or open up this crazy world of wine to our customers, who in the end of the day, they mean the most to us, especially in this industry.
So the restaurant itself, and you obviously specialize in great pasta. And I'm going to give our listeners a couple accolades. Recently you were listed as one of the 11 greatest restaurants in Red Bank, New Jersey, which is actually a great hub of restaurants. So, you may not have heard of that area, folks. It's kind of like South Philadelphia, or it's a great restaurant hub. So, Red Bank, New Jersey. But one that I loved that came out of a radio station in New Jersey, it was actually 101.5, is make this the one Italian restaurant in New Jersey you eat at. And looking through your menu and seeing the simplicity of it, but the flavors that went along with it, and having a great burrata, having just some other basic things on the menu, but all made with love and attention. I could see all that. And now I understand you recently added the beer garden as well. Is that correct?
Yes, so the name Beer Garden is a little bit confusing, I think, for the average person. We just actually renamed it to the Piazza to be more in line with our, I guess, Italian heritage. But it's
Sure.
our indoor outdoor space. So it's 4 seasons, heated in the winter with walls and a roof. In the summer, those walls come down and it's our al fresco dining. In the summer, we have live music most nights of the week. It's a great space. We do a lot of private events and parties in it. Personally, I love dining out there better than inside of the main dining room, but people have been loving it. I think people like dining outside.
I would agree. I would add, what's better on a beautiful evening in this spring, summer, fall than dining al fresco and having a great glass of wine and just a pasta dish that is handmade. I mean, what really says love and enjoyment better than that? It's really that simple.
Exactly, not much. I would agree.
So another thing I really want to touch on, and your role with, and you're something I believe you're passionate about. Red Bank, as I was joking earlier before our listeners got involved, is this hub of you know active, socially responsible, community supportive organizations. Everybody knows John Bon Jovi's restaurant and what he does there. But you are a really big supporter of an organization called United Vines, which is all about wine, but all about social activism as well. Can you tell our listeners, how you got started in this, what your roots were, and then what the organization does as well?
Sure. So, United Vines is actually a brainchild of myself and my older sister, Eli Rallo. It started, I believe, in 2018, if I recall correctly. My sister is huge into social justice, as am I. She's a writer and a journalist, so it makes sense. um, One day she called me and she was like, I have a crazy idea, but I don't know who to go to. And I'm calling you because you're my younger brother and you love food and wine. she was like, I want to start a nonprofit wine company. And I was like, okay, Eli, I don't make wine. So that's going to be challenging. But we brainstormed for a second, and we're fortunate that we have a lot of friends in Italy, producers, distributors, whatnot, all tiers of the wine distribution system. We know people and very well through my father. So I was like, okay, let's call up Isabella Odero. If you're not familiar to the people out there, Odero is a very famous Barolo and Barbaresco producer in the Langhe Hills of Piedmont, and Barolo and Barbaresco being predominantly made with Nebbiolo. So big, gorgeous red wines from Italy. They are delicious. I highly recommend you buy a bottle if you can.
I'm gonna second that one. I have a couple in my wine cellar, and now I decided what I'm having with dinner tonight.
So we called up Isabella. So she's part of the family. It's been a family-run winery forever, and we told her our idea. We want to make a rosé, but a portion of the proceeds going to a various social justice cause. Each year, we chose rosé just because of its marketability to younger generations and also older, but specifically capitalizing on the younger generations that are willing to spend money on a good product and also raise awareness for various social justice causes. And we asked her for a recommendation of who she thought could private label the wine. And she was like, look no further, I'll do it for you. So the first vintage, it was kind of like an experiment. They never made rosé before, and they were vinifying Nebbiolo in a rosé style, which is not that common. So we weren't really sure what to expect. That first year, we called the bottle GRL, or Girl, and it was raising money for women's rights and advocating for women's rights. And we donated a portion of those proceeds. And the wine was fantastic, and it just kind of has gone from there. Every year it's limited release. There's not a lot of cases. They're sold through our restaurants because we have our retail licenses allow us to sell wine out the door. So they're exclusively sold through our restaurants. Our most recent vintage last year was called So it went towards the LGBTQ plus community. And every year it changes, and our tagline is kind of sip and join the revolution. So in every glass, there's an active form of resistance, if you will, or an active statement to helping build a better future. And it's all through a beverage that I think is widely consumed across the world that many, many people like. And it's just like a fun passion project that we've developed and done each year.
It's a great cause, and I do I know enough about your organization to really my actually, as embarrassing as this is, my young daughter turned me on to it, and then heard about it some more and things like that. It's something I was like, wow, what a great thing this is, and what an opportunity for holiday gifts and things like that. Hey, something to consider about making a difference and helping people out and do all that. So what is next for your vision? You are a visionary. Your father is certainly a visionary. What is next for Red Bank or even beyond?
For sure. I mean, I have some projects in the work. I love to keep myself busy. My father loves to keep himself busy, always pushing ourselves to grow and do something bigger, greater, and better than we're doing every single day. So we have a restaurant in Rumson, New Jersey, opening hopefully just at the turn of the new year, called River Point Inn. We're partnering with Chef Josh Lorano. He kind of grew up in the New York City restaurant scene when he was in kitchens. He's highly acclaimed, very, very successful, incredibly talented. He's going to be a huge player to the piece of that puzzle. I will be moving over to there once that restaurant opens. I developed the entire beverage program. It's all French, so we are challenging ourselves in that aspect, that there will be no Italian wine on the list. French, some California, a little bit of Oregon, but predominantly Bordeaux, Burgundy, Loire Valley, Alsace, and Rhone. So we will be embarking on that journey come the turn of the year, and I'm super excited about that. We're also looking into Jersey City at some opportunity to expand one of our concepts, Pasta-Vino, there in the future. There's a lot of great development going on there, so that'll be exciting. But I think for me, it's just looking at ways that we can continue to really provide hospitality and unite people through food and beverage, and give them the experience that my grandfather started giving to people many, many, many years ago, that I unfortunately never got to witness really with my own eyes, as he passed when I was 2, but I get to witness every single day through what my father does. And for me, that's my goal, just to share my passion of hospitality and food and beverage with others in any outlet or in any form possible, whether that be a new restaurant in New Jersey or a new restaurant across the country. Who knows? We're always excited for new opportunities.
Well, I salute your passion. It's amazing, and it's actually very heartwarming. Um, in our last, 45 seconds or so, tell our listeners where they can find your restaurants, where they can find you on social media.
Yes, so our restaurants, you can find them all online. So birravino.com, undicirestaurant.com, pastavinosi.com, riverpointinn.com. All those websites are basically the same Instagram handles. If you search any of them, they will pop up. So feel free to look, feel free to come visit, say hi to me, making pasta on the floor, managing, running around doing something crazy, because we all know in a family business, that's the name of the game. But it would be a pleasure to meet any of you out there, any of your listeners, both of you. If you ever want to stop by, please do. And I'd be more than happy to welcome you all with open arms into our restaurant, which for me is my second home.
Thank you so much. I am truly, when I say it, I don't want to sound condescending. I'm much older than you, but the passion you have for your, what your father showed you, and then the spirit of your grandfather comes through so much in all you talk about, and your love of the hospitality industry. And it's what I have. I grew up in, and it's part of my blood. And you know what? It's just, you give so much hope to the generation that I'm from about the continuance of this industry. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Our pleasure.
Thank you, Jake. And we will be right back after this short break.